Peace, family. Peace, family. How we doing? How we doing? Getting into the overtime. Just finished class up again. Let's get Sam in here and let's get some questions answered about the administrative process. Let's get to it. How we doing, family? How we doing? How we doing? Nice seeing you guys again. All right, all right. Administrative process questions. Any questions that you guys have? What's going on, brother?
Another fine day. Can you see me? Seems like I'm having some technical issues on my end.
Okay, family. What we got? What we got? If you guys have sent me any messages, had any questions I wasn't able to get to, go ahead and drop them in the chat right now. Let's see, how do I ask the government for my cash debit? That is an interesting one. Can you clarify what you think a cash debit is, family? Let's start there at least. When you're asking anybody for anything, they don't necessarily have to give it to you. You have to instruct them on what it is that you desire to acquire. Okay, family? What's the agenda tonight, family? Really just the administrative process. I would love to talk about how you guys construct your affidavits, construct your claims, so that you are able to properly enforce what it is you're trying to get, out of these companies. You demand, amen. It's the cash debit that the government uses your birth certificate to make money off. Oh, they use it to make money off of you? Cash debit that the government uses your birth certificate to make money off of. So you're trying to request funds directly out of it, or why wouldn't you just use it properly? Why wouldn't you allow the principal to do what it does and you just privately enjoy it? Ashe, Ashe, Queen, Ashe, Ashe, King. All right now, I see Tony. If the court denied my GSA bonds, can the GSA associate still approve them and I still get remedy? That'll definitely be. You have to hit me up on a private. If you guys add me on my Instagram this week, you guys can load me with questions. I'll answer all of those questions, and it's my gift to you guys for, kind of bringing that platform alive, so that I'll be able to deal with a multitude of individuals, because these lives are going to help you guys out a lot. So how do I properly enjoy it? Family, what you're going to do to properly enjoy that is learn the administrative process. Literally, that is like your elementary way of handling these things. Right. Tam, BDAR 81. How you doing, sweetie? What is my Telegram? My Telegram is just for the students, but my Instagram is in the link in my bio. It's Coach Brown _ IG. Coach Brown _ IG. You can go on there and you can load me up with questions. That is literally my gift to you guys. You just go in there, check out the videos that's on there. I'm making some directly just for Instagram, and I'm making some directly just for here. And I really want to open you guys up to this administrative process properly, so that you aren't going and trying to fight these people with processes that you're not able to enforce. Like, you have to understand how to walk through a door before you just, try to go straight to the vault. They're going to look at you funny. What is the administrative process, and would I be able to use it in a Yes, of course. Your paperwork is court. Your administrative process is you handling court. You are the postmaster of all that you write down. So if they can write and send something to a dead entity, to your principal, then you should be able to write back to them as a living soul and instruct them properly on how you want this matter handled. This is you learning your role, learning the roles of commerce, and you handling these things competently. Said, Earth is not above firmament, water is above and below. All right now, I hear you, brother. We definitely appreciate all of the engagement, family. So, I mean, if you guys don't mind hitting the like button and pushing it out there, let's get some more people in here with some questions so that we can, better understand where we should move forward. And I'm going to try to get my mentor back in here. That way we can get some dialogue going. Because if I'm not getting the questions, then what I can do is at least get the dialogue going. Same for child support. It's the same for any matter. It's the same for any matter. I did a motion to dismiss on the letter you said right. Did I tell you to write a letter? Did I tell you to write a letter, family? However, how did that work for you? How did that work for you? I said, but they're not really helpful at all. Let's see. What did you ask before that, sweetie? What is the administrative process and would I be able to use it? Yep, you would. But they're not helpful at all. The administrative process, not the administrators in process. It says, I need to consult. Well, if you go to my IG, I'll answer your questions on there. All this week, I'm just going to be answering questions and really just trying to guide you guys in the right direction. And then from there, you can become a part of the family whenever you see fit. And that's how we're going to do it. The Instagram is Coachbrowniv_IG. I'll put it in here. That's where you guys can get all of these questions answered because I am too loaded right now on TikTok. I have 2,000 messages I cannot go through. It's going to take me too long. So if you guys can get into Instagram this week and get your questions answered, I highly behoove you guys to do so. I know it. Thanks. Yes, ma'am. And I'm trying my best, guys. I'm doing my best to answer as many questions as I can. Really with the free time that I have, outside of the students and stuff. So after I do class with them, I like to come on here and kick a little game as much as I can. Thank you for the hearts, family. Thank you. So basically, as far as what I'm trying to convey to people is the art of a claim, writing a letter, being able to enforce that letter, knowing your role in commerce, understanding what the principle is, understanding that you are a beneficiary and an agent and a trustee and an executor and a fiduciary. And then everybody plays their roles in commerce. You just have to understand what your role is inside that trinity and that trust action. And, it's a beautiful thing once you get it. All right, I think Sam's trying to get in. There we go. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't say it right. It's all good, family. It's all good. Just take your time. There's something else we teach is taking our time because we have to express and convey these things. But I'm here for you. So be sure to drop your questions. All right, brother. Did you get it? Did you beat up on the towers? I think we got Sam back in.
Yes, sir. I'm present.
Gotcha. So Frank's need 11_19. Any remedy pertaining to what exactly, family? Are you asking me have we received remedy or remedy for something in particular? From what you just said, this definitely will work for an arrest warrant. This is,
I say, Tony.
Well, gotcha. I mean, it works for any matter. It's just how you express it. Samuel Ashe Pharaoh. That's what it says.
Sure.
Now, this is for entertainment purposes only, guys. This is not legal information. We're not legal advisors. If you're seeking any of those things, I highly encourage you to go and get that done professionally.
Yep, something like that, Tony.
How professional are they? Like they're just steering you in a direction that they want you to go.
Yep.
To comply when you should be competent. Competent people do not comply. Coach, I lost the car by repo with only $3,000 owed on it. Can I file something to get it back? The fact that you could present it to me this way means that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Sure
Do
can.
you have the receipt? To dispossess someone there must necessarily be a reflection of that transaction. How did they create the lien? Where's the permission slip for them to take that non-judicially?
So that's Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
If somebody knows something, I'm definitely actively learning, and I appreciate it so much, so much. Like I'm telling you guys, if you want some private questions answered, that Instagram, go to my Instagram, Coachbrowniv_IG. This week only is my gift to you guys. I will answer all your questions there, especially if you're interactive on the page and actually learning something. If you're learning something, ask a question. You guys have till next Wednesday to do so. All right, so what do you think about class today, brother? You feel like we kind of brought them back to the grassroots properly today?
Absolutely. It's breaking it back down to square one, which is always important for them to grasp the macrocosm and the microcosm. What's the big concept driving home everything that they're doing? And what are the minor nuances? What are the minor aspects that, if they are not precisely observed, will morph the way that they view the constellation, will morph their view of their relationship, of their power, which is ultimately what they are utilizing.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. No, you kind of blew their minds with that last thing that you said to them about keeping you know,
Yes,
their own receipts, so to speak.
that's definitely important. Grasping that.
Mm-hmm. How does someone join the class? You'll go to our Patreon. Um, the link is in this particular bio here. I have a link tree on there. You click on that link tree, and it should be the very first one. And all the instructions are there on how you do so. You want to become a gold member, and then from there, we'll give you a call and we'll get you started, man.
As far as Stephen, as far as the beginning is actually well before you're trying to perform in that way. That's why we teach administrative action first, because that talks about the language of commercial transactions. If you don't understand that language, you sending them anything can be construed as a incapacity, as a minor speaking on matters that they don't understand, they don't grasp.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you grasp it, you perform in a specific way. And typically, when we created long-standing accounts meaning that we've had 5-10 years, you've been performing another way for a very long time. So how do you quantify that shift in conduct?
Mm-hmm.
Practically, because a lot of people want remedy immediately, but don't understand that they've been doing something a different way for a long time. And you have to account for performance.
Mm-hmm.
If you legitimately want and have an interest in being heard, being seen for the first time in your proper standing.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Let's see what other questions we got here, brother. This is my favorite are the UCC 3-306 and Federal Reserve Act 16 and 29 with my invoice.
They're definitely important quantifiers, definitely good reading points that I would suggest people grasp and digest, a bit at a time, because that's a lot to handle. I think, at least for our purposes, we quantify that as more advanced practice, because if you can't communicate as an agent, it's very difficult for you to enforce anything that you would send out as far as instruments are concerned.
I wrote a motion asking the court to send me a 1099 OID. Another advanced tactic,
Mm-hmm.
which are
Def-
which are which are fantastic if you have the basics. And we would rather teach people how to dribble the ball without penalizing themselves teaching them how to stay in bounds so that they're not getting any yellow flags thrown at them. These are things that I feel most people should understand practically first before they go out and try to, do a windmill dunk on somebody. Because those things can get you caught up. You can really hurt yourself if not done properly. Because you'll learn the process and not know what the basics are. You don't know where you're deriving your energy from. We don't teach Hail Marys. However, what you just said, it definitely moves pieces on the board. Really, that seems mid-low tier, but I'm no teacher. You're definitely a learner. Definitely a learner. Want to learn, where do I start? Or what do you recommend? As always, the administrative process and
Yep.
understanding the roles in commerce. Understand the roles in commerce, and then the administrative process puts you above many. That'll immediately put you in the top 10% commerce activity bracket at a high level.
Yep.
And that's at a high level. Basic knowledge of this puts you at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them to stay away from the 1099As and 1099Bs. Everyone is at their own discretion, their own free will on how they want to move. If you understand those things, you can use those things. But if you don't go out there playing with that fire.
Nope. It is a very powerful tool, but if you inappropriately conduct yourself, or even if you appropriately conduct yourself, you can still run into issues, and their competency will be tested. So it's just a matter of remaining in honor. Thank
So
you for being present, Ram. That's not any of what we're advocating for or talking about. So thank you. You can leave the chat. If you want to remain and stay, we can inform you that those are oxymorons. They don't coexist. Cannot be both one and the other. Can't demonstrate a legal personality that is superior and subordinate unless something else has occurred. I like your thinking, though.
oh, most definitely. Sovereign citizen. Who's a sovereign citizen? Oh, you said Grant. Oh, you're talking about this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Freedom of
It's
speech.
about the same thing. No. I'd like you to advocate. Here's your opportunity to explain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's chattel. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And you pledge no allegiance either. Just eating grass.
Privileged.
Mm-hmm. Until you bring your head up and think you're special. Let's see. Graham. Graham. Brother, it's all love, man. I want nothing but the best for people. That's why we're here.
Yeah. It's not here to be hostile or turn people away, but you've introduced something to the chat that we were not discussing and then walked away from it. So you dropped a grenade.
We have to kick it as far away as from everyone as possible. I mean, but this is kind of thinking that will keep you where you are.
Yeah.
I mean, as it should. I wish you the best. Open your mind and try not to look at everything as someone's trying to encourage people to a slaughter. When we're literally trying to get you in the opposite direction. That's literally what's happening. We should stop using FRNs. Interesting thought process. All it is just currency. It's just a form of barter and exchange. They're
There will
gonna do
always be
something.
an intermediary, regardless of what nation perseveres, what namesake that they bear. There is always an intermediary. No, he was saying about commerce. Now he made the courts give him a. Oh, that? Okay. We're just trying to be clear with what you're talking about, Graham. That's why I asked you. Restate it. But yes, that is a higher concept than what people understand at a
I
basic
got you.
level.
Thank you for that clarification, brother. This is why we try to remain where we remain. Say, can you explain the venue to enforce an administrative process, circuit, or district? Well, can you explain the venue to enforce it? Well, it depends on how you initiated your claim to be enforced in the first place. It's always going to come down to that. How did you initiate your claim? How did you construct your claim? That's what you can enforce. So if you were very direct and conspicuous, then you're able to enforce it the same way, without controversy, non-combative, non-belligerent, non-adverse. I just found your page and I'm trying to learn this ish ASAP like Rocky. I bet. Well, family, you're in the right place. Take your time. I would encourage you to go to the Roles in Commerce playlist first. Then from there, learn the elements of the claim that I'm teaching right now. That's going to help you out tremendously. Coach, also today I went to a car dealership and asked if they would take my 1099, and they, guess the rest of it is going to come. See, I mean, it's all about how you initiate things. So if you're just going and trying to get something with that, and you don't know the basic concepts administratively, you don't know their roles, you don't know your roles, you're expecting them to just give you something, they're not going to do that. That's not their job.
Or worse yet, they'll take it from you and then you'll be left high and dry with the bag, which is where you're already at if you don't have the knowledge to fully implement the procedure you're trying to follow. Believe it or not, anytime you get documents from an agency, something external to yourself, they have a code or a means, a serialization. These are for this. If you read the rule book, the codex for that filing, you know exactly what it's for. So it should reflect what that codex asks for. How do you quantify it? What is it asking for? What is it proving?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand how that fits together, you can't communicate your purpose, and commercially that has no power or usage for you. So you start with where you're at, start with what you know. And that's why we don't really teach that, and that's why we say that's more advanced practice, because you have to understand the language.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you find the codex? The 1099A instructions? That's right from the Internal Revenue Code. So you read that before
Mm-hmm.
anything else. That's the minimum.
Most definitely that, because they even tell you what the accompanying forms are. We just, as a collective conscious, with the blindfolds that we have on in commerce, we don't even want to read instructions. We just want the outcome. And this is where we have to break our mentalities to understand that the basic concepts of commerce is going to come from the linguistics that they place right in front of you.
Yes.
They place them there with the definitions and everything. They tell you what you can do and what you cannot do. And it's up to us to competently allot ourselves the avenue to get these things done. You're not going to be able to get these things done if you don't even know the rules. You don't know the instructions. You can't go to IKEA and put together their furniture without their instructions. And if you do, you're missing something. There's a nut and there's a screw loose, and something's going to happen eventually. Make sense, family?
Yep.
They send the booklets with the forms.
Mm-hmm.
If you order the booklets, yep.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, they'll at least give you one. They'll at least give you one. But the instructions are on the form.
Which will still refer you to more reading. Because if you've ever read the instructions and really read it, reread it for competency, it's still going to refer you back to the Internal Revenue Code. Because is it applicable to you? Do you need to use that to quantify any of the exchange that you're doing? Technically, no. If you understand and grasp commercially what you're doing anyway in other places when you use commercial paper. But that's more of a topic for offline than online. But at least that puts in your head specific language that you don't hear on a regular basis. Something definitely worth Googling or binging or pinging, whatever
Or
you
you
want to use to
Yahoo.
look that up. What that is.
Yes, sir. How do you access the value of your birth certificate? I have a video on there that shows you how to do so. They may have updated a few things since I posted that, but there is a start. Is video on there on my TikTok, the yellow book video that's in the background. Use that. It's not really anything that I do advocate for, but if you just want to see the value of it, just so that you know there's a principle with value, that is the only reason why I even put that out there. Just so that you know your principle has cargo. How can I find my trustee?
Find? I like the question, but in what matter? Roxy and Ezra, is that a podcast? No, we don't have a podcast. We have a Patreon that's somewhere separate that we teach from.
Um,
Private domain.
Private domain, which is a lot more open, and it gives you the understanding that you're going to need to get out here. Because the questions that I do see, it shows where you guys are, and I would love to guide you properly. Absolutely love to. It's like you're running directly at a cliff, and I'm just gonna just guide you right back to the middle of the field, and I'm gonna teach you what you need to be taught. Sam is going to teach you what needs to be taught. Is the master QSIP on the BC or the SSC? No, it's on neither. Security. She was talking about security, Roxy. Let's see, what was her question? How can I find my trustee for the security?
If you're asking about the security, I think you're talking about for the BC, then you would need to look at Internal Revenue Code, even still, because you have to know what that represents. What is that a certification of? How do you reclaim it? How do you reinvest in it? When you grasp that, you understand that that's why you can understand commercially why we're regarded in such a low position. It's because we don't understand commerce, but we engage in it on a regular basis, typically to our detriment, which is why they made special rules for trends that were analyzed in commerce. We can't ignore all of these excesses. So here's a remedy for a consumer.
Coach can't hear you. You can hear me, right, Sam?
I can hear you. You may have to click out. I had an issue earlier with the screen.
Okay. Well, if any of you guys can hear me, y'all drop some hearts or some thumbs up or something like that. I just need to make sure that you guys are able to hear me. Let's see. Oh, Roxy can hear me. Okay. There we go. Thank you, family. Thank you. Okay, y'all just gave me a great idea. Oh, Tony. All right now. Go on the public forum.
Yep.
What you got?
There's always a means to use the information, your understanding. Let's see if I missed any questions. Silvermane, I agree. You can't injure yourself if you are misapplying principles, or worse yet, using your legal personality for deceptive practices. That would be considered cheating or a cheat under common law principle, reflected still under operation of law, just not called same codex.
Yes. I definitely appreciate you guys for dropping those likes and the engagement. Now, if you don't mind hitting for me a few more times, let's push it out and get some more questions answered. I have a lot of energy right now.
Tony said just hire a secretary. You gonna get a secretary?
All right, Tony. Tony tapped into something already.
Yeah. Just trying to see if we missed anybody. I think there was one question that was asked that I didn't get a chance to address.
Okay, what we got?
I'm looking for it right now before everything else blows up.
Grab me some water. Let's see. All right, family. Any more questions? We're definitely gonna dialogue, but I want to get as many questions answered first.
Ezra, if you're still here, we appreciate you being present and learning. Mario, you asked about venue. Venue is to your choosing. You are bringing the claim. You get to choose what that jurisdiction is. If you are bringing the claim and it's private, it will always remain in the private domain until you accelerate it into a public space. But we never do so without evidence because we want to be in congruence with operation of law. We want all of our effort, all of the battlefield bloodshed, the spilled ink that we have utilized commercially to be substantiated. Otherwise, it's of no benefit to you. You're not going to see the remedy that you're asking for or looking for.
Amen.
The remedy isn't just the financial uh, award that you would receive, it's the rights that you've already demonstrated to begin with, your position, your posture. Why are you speaking?
Your conduct in that manner. Say here, birth certificate value. What does this mean? Well, it's just pretty much that your principal has cargo. Your principal has cargo, and you have the ability to utilize that cargo and privately enjoy it. Doesn't mean that you should go and liquidate that asset, because once you do that, you are going to pull in people who are overseeing that and know that you're not competent to handle that. And there's a nation protecting your equity there. So if you take the protection away, are you going to go against a whole entity that's been protecting that and benefiting from that out of your ignorance alone? I highly suggest that you rethink your stance with that idea.
Well, one of the issues with people and understanding appropriate public demonstration and private demonstration, you are public. It necessarily means that you are engaging with or between a public. And when they speak of a public forum, we're talking about government,
Yes.
governance. Private is always for profit, capitalist,
See you on.
enjoyed and apart from government control, influence.
Amen. So I kind of wanted to touch on the co-mingling a little bit. Would you be willing?
Yeah, on a basic level, we could definitely talk about it. People that subscribe to, or as somebody mentioned earlier, the concerns for sovereign citizens. Strawman theory is not going to work for you because it's not a demonstration of law. Is strawman theory a law? It's not a law. There's a principle. There's a principle that's regarded as a specific utility that conveys certain value, but that's a legal personality, a personality that is born of not allegiance, but of what?
I'm not sure, brother.
Action.
Mm-hmm.
Something had to occur naturally before an artificial construct could be created and bear a similar namesake.
Okay. So this usually happens. It sounds like this happens in a hospital.
Yes.
Okay. So if you are bearing a similar namesake and you are incompetently handling processes you do not understand, that puts you in the position of a cheater.
Puts you in the position of a cheater. If you are adverse and belligerent, definitely a cheater, and you'll be held accountable as such
Mm-hmm.
based off of legal precedent. Or you are held to be a minor and already do not possess a capacity to speak for that disregarded entity.
Mm-hmm. Can I create a LLC with my straw man?
You can, but it would still fall within the construct of, if you've read the Internal Revenue Code, the control test, which is to say that if a U.S. person has control of a entity, meaning it has full trusteeship over that, then it is liable to that authority, that legal personality. So said differently, it would be in the same position. You would still be creating a public utility. You can privatize an aspect of conduct and protect or reduce some liability, but it's not going to nullify that responsibility to that authority that allowed or permitted its creation.
Most definitely. So if I'm using codes and statutes in my affidavits, am I committing forgery?
Technically, it wouldn't be forgery, it would be infringement. Infringement on covenants that you are not a party to if you are demonstrating that adverse position. You are not in agreement or comity, meaning international regularity and custom and recognition with that nation. And as such, if you are not friendly, you're not an ally, you're not regarded to be doing commerce for the benefit of it, you can be penalized. You can be held liable for that infraction. And in each
Mm-hmm.
action, each succession, you can be considered to be in dishonor. And you
Right.
must correct that deficiency. You have that obligation by your conduct because it was voluntary.
So what? Bring yourself into that. I've seen that here. Someone saying forgery. It's not forgery. It is infringement.
Mm-hmm. Infringement on the patent right. Patent right meaning what? Something that was created, intellectual property. It is the intellectual property of the construct of governance. Not going to get into the specifics of that because this is a public forum, but if you understand that, that is where it's born from. That is who gave it
Mm-hmm.
life or quasi, not life,
Yeah,
but
quasi. Sure. Because it's all
here
operating
recognition.
in the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes, they are, Tony. We can demonstrate operation of law and be in regularity and conformity with them, but we don't demonstrate it with the code. You demonstrate it with your conduct.
correct. So your UCC 1 308, instead of utilizing that, you could simply just say all rights reserved
Mm-hmm.
in replacement of such a patented phrase. UCC codes are copyright property. It is. And you see, this is where that administrative process comes into play, understanding the basics, because you, we're getting out here and we're playing this game with people that have created it. So if you understand the architects of commerce, you can operate with them instead of against them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we are trying to give you that parallel outlook, perspective on how you should be moving in commerce. Our
How
way
you
is not
can,
the right way. How
how
you
you
can.
can,
Okay, how you can.
because
Correction.
people, if people want to do it the way that they've been doing it, hey, I empower you to do so as long as you are happy, healthy, and you remain in honor to the degree of knowledge that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is not something we're forcing upon you. We have 25 people who are present and engaged. We have your attention for a reason. We appreciate you. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Coach Brown, but I did want to put that caveat in there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And this is where the Shaq and Kobe mentality comes into play. This is why you have to have your community and your quote unquote nations of people that can be there to keep you right there, steering you right back where you need to be. But me personally, I love the beneficiary aspect of commerce. I enjoy it thoroughly. Because before I was of the mentality that I had to go against something. Now I was swimming upstream, not getting anywhere. But the moment I decided to just open the levees, I got to freely move with the tsunami instead of trying to go against it. And there's a huge, huge difference for me when I did make that spark plug go off in my mind and spirit. Then it became fun. Then learning became more fun because I didn't have to contain myself in their constructs for them. It's not for them. They're just guidelines that you can use to benefit you and privately enjoy this matter privately before these things become public. When you bring things into the public, you've already handled it privately, and you have to bring it to the public in order to get your resolutions rectified. Basically, get what your outcome is with the claim that you created. Let thy will be done. So, admin process first, most definitely.
Hmm. That's why we teach from that stance. You can't effectively do anything else until you have the right understanding of where you're trying to go. If you can't map it out and articulate it on a basic level, how will you expect anybody to do what you're asking for?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. That's what we want to hit home on. When you understand your position or the position that you've stated, you hold true to it. A lot of people fail not because of application, it's because of the lack of enforcement. You don't enforce what you have to say, what you say means nothing. They can disregard you. And any successive action after that, you may have one or two chances, if you're lucky, with one individual or company to present yourself a certain way. If you do that before you're ready, and then they take adverse action against you, do you know how to compel them to see the light of or the benefit of being in agreement with you as opposed to being your enemy?
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't teach or work from that position. They're so busy focusing on that payout that they don't look at how it can be beneficial to you mutually, because that's what commerce is about. It's about being mutually beneficial. If you're not mutually bound to an obligation, there is no contract, there is no commercial exchange, and there may and necessarily is unjust enrichment, which is everything that dishonor
Mm-hmm.
allows and is corrected in equity. That's what we're trying to gravitate towards. That's the action that we're taking.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Most definitely.
Is being practical with this. We're not trying to have you go out and do a whole bunch of adverse actions, or worse yet, set fires that can't be maintained. You have to understand strategically, why are you doing what you're doing? If you don't know what follows, what the next action is in that chain of sequence, how do you know that you've succeeded? Because where I
Mm-hmm.
may quantify success as my utility bill remaining on after I've demonstrated my performance, someone else might say, hey, I want the credit. I want to see the CRs on that for entertainment purposes only. I want to see CRs on some type of accounting to know that I've succeeded. And it's perfectly natural, but you quantify it. No one else can quantify that for you because these are private affairs.
Mm-hmm. And you have to understand that is private. You don't want to commingle the private and the public. You don't want to go public until you've went all the way private. And I hate the fact that I can't say I hate the fact, but I understand the fact that we do not understand when we first get into this knowledge. But the moment that you get that aha, there is a private, there's a public. There are roles in commerce that I have to play, and I need to be able to understand all the roles. Then there's rules to how your opponent has to actually operate, and there's rules to how you engage with them. Because you have no rules of operation, but there are consequences for actions taken by you, because you are the one that brings it to life. So if you're bringing something to life, you have to understand that this is a dead entity. And if you start operating like them, then what does that make you? And who administers over these corporations? You have to know these things at a base level. You don't need to be as intricate and have to have a high vocabulary with this stuff, but the more that you study and learn it, it comes naturally. Because this is something that your soul is tapping into, because that is exactly what it is that you're doing with your energy. You have to tap into your soul to even bring this forth. So all in all, family, I really, really do hope that this helps and that it's hitting home somewhere, because this administrative process is serious. It's probably the most serious thing that you can learn, because you're using it every day, regardless if you understand it or not. It's being used against you on a daily basis. Daily basis. So if
With
you
your
ever need to know
consent.
what the next step is, just see how they've been treating you this whole time. What was that, Sam?
I said with your consent added to it, because you don't know any different. You're none the wiser. They tell you you're in the red. I guess you're in the red. Most people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mindset, unfortunately, which we are retraining our brains. If you're reshaping your brain, you're here, you're resonating with what we're talking about. This is reshaping your brain. It's not saying just go along with whatever we're talking about. It's about understanding that in order to practically change the environment that you're in, you have to change the mental state of your mindset and engage that problem, that conflict in a different way. And that means breaking it down to its elements. If you don't understand the elements of what's actually being presented, exactly cognitive dissonance, and I speak to that when I talk about claim construction, you're already losing a battle. You are
Mm-hmm.
leaving things on the battlefield unclaimed. You are not going to be the victor in that manner. You are surrendering.
Wholeheartedly.
Yep. And
Without even knowing it.
you will get no spoils of war for surrender.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what they want you to do. Bow out. Bow out. And once you bow out, then they can continue to treat you how they have been doing. And then they're going to put a X and a 2 next to it. They're going to really come for you consistently. They're not going to miss anything with you. So when you present yourself to these people, make sure that you're ready to present yourself to these people or corporations or even trust accounts. You may not even know you're dealing with a trust account. I mean, a lot of these companies are DBA'd. So these big names, they're not even moving in their proper capacity to deal with you anyway. Can they be sending you bills and letters of exchange in your state anyway?
Maybe not, but again, that gets back into a lot of overlapping, overarching problems and solutions. And practically, you can't assess any ground that you can fight on until you grasp
Mm-hmm.
where the actual conflict is. Where do you want to stake your claim? Because you could easily fight it and go about it in a position of, hey, I want to close out action with them, but it may be more beneficial to you to continue that relationship. You already have something that was at stake that you gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Why not receive? I'll be very careful with this wording. Why not receive what you've already pledged? I'm not going to say what's owed to you because you abandoned it
Mm-hmm.
with certain conduct. Just plain and simple.
We give them the down payment, then register, mail them. Tony, we love you, Tony.
That's definitely a strategy. That's um,
Follow Tony. Ask him
I mean,
questions.
Tony
However,
does. Tony knows a lot, but he's going to give you a lot. We're going to break it down substructure because I don't advocate for giving spears to people who say they're non-combatants.
hmm when will the new class begin? We do them on Wednesdays, 6 o'clock p.m. every Wednesday. Tony is losing it. Tony, you got to stop shooting like Steph Curry with these people. It looks nice, but they got to learn how to make their layups first.
Yeah.
See, definitely appreciate the engagement, family, and your. I'm really enjoying this live here, more than most. And Tony, you boy, that's right. Cheers, brother. Drink this water. Let's see. Oh yes, most definitely. And definitely, family, don't forget to go to that Instagram to get your other questions answered after the live. Go ahead and put your questions in there. And if I don't get directly to you, what I'm going to do is go on live and answer those questions. And I will be posting this live on my YouTube channel. So that button is already there on this TikTok, on this page here. You can go through all of the previous lives and kind of go through, the dialogue and the engagement between, Sam and I, as well as the, general population. Because, I mean, it definitely would have helped me when I was trying to get this information. Because we got to bring you guys back down to the rudiments with these questions. We can answer them, but we got to bring you back down to how would you even get there? How would you get all the way up here? And you don't know where to start. You can't just send paperwork to people and expect them to honor what it is that you sent them. Folks, I got more reading to do on bankers instruction and mediums of exchange. That's right. That's right.
It's
Every day.
important. Even we study every day. It
Mm-hmm.
is not something that we just sit on our laurels with and say, "Hey, I'm great. I know this. I can teach it. I know it." Shit hot. It's not the case. We're constantly evolving, constantly retraining our brains and exposing ourselves to information. So we want to be able to make the connection, keep ourselves sharp. More than that, we will also want to be able to create new resolutions to practical situations that we come across on a regular basis. Exactly. We are here to actively engage and evolve on all levels. One aspect that holds a lot of people back in their experience is financial, so that's why we're speaking to this. But you can't speak to the financial obligation until you understand what, at its basic root, drives commerce. And what necessarily follows is a deep dive into commercial instruments, is a deep dive into equity, common law, contracts, commercial paper, and the overlay and the difference between those two. And then moving beyond that, understanding the roles, responsibilities between, on a basic level, a creditor and a debtor. If you don't understand those two intimately, everything that you are doing financially is going to be at a snail's pace. You will not build generational wealth. You will not be able to elevate yourself into a different position unless the labors of love that you are committed to are just so gifted and so great and acknowledgeable that you are benefited by the universe or by divinity, whatever you want to acknowledge the greater cosmic good as, that you're gifted with that for your conduct. But everything begins within you. So that's what we teach from. The basic concept is you need to understand responsibilities and roles in a
Mm-hmm.
contract, in commercial paper, in commercial jurisdiction in order to perform honorably.
You must remain in honor.
Mm-hmm.
You must remain in honor for equitable purposes and for purposes of divinity and spirit. Because if you're expecting outcomes that you desire, your honor is paramount. That equity that you want exchanged properly won't come to you without it.
Absolutely. Believe it or not, Silvermane, would I say that they're copyrighted? Absolutely. That's intellectual property. It belongs to a collective. It belongs to the public. If it's used inappropriately, There is a tax. There's a penance, a penalty for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just making sure that you're using it appropriately. You can demonstrate a concept as an operation of law without citing the code. Think of it like this: the code is a shorthand. The essence of the law is what is it expressing? What are you trying to explain? What is being comprehended? When you understand that, you can dissect that, express that, explain that. You understand the practical matter of a merchant in commerce, because the first disputes that were necessarily resolved by our system, Western civilization, was in the canon, which were those that were heard by the church, which had to give or make the distinction that they were not the sovereign. They were simply giving a rule now codified by statute, by public policy as acts, references of how one might conduct themselves. Might meaning voluntary. If you do this, this may happen. If you don't do this, this may happen. So you still have that freedom of choice. That legal personality still can move in either respect.
Mm-hmm. Proper understanding. That's where those roles are very important. You got to know those roles. Know what a fiduciary is. Know what a trustee is. Know what your role is to each one of those participants. Know what a trust action is, because this is what you're operating inside of, regardless if you understand it or not. Commerce does. And commerce has remedy for those who are competent and understand. Understand and overstand. However you
And
want
you're
to
right.
put it.
Tony, you're right. The UCC has the copyright system.
But it's their interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And they must operate within it. You personally do not. But you must understand it so you can hold them to how they should operate.